The one thing that the executive branch always recognizes is that its bread and butter is in the legislative branch. It's the legislative branch that actually approves the budget for that particular agency. And in that case, they usually do listen to a call and pay attention to a call that comes from a senator's office. Whatever can be done administratively and that we could be able to do within the bounds of what you can do in constituent work to push that and make that happen quicker and make sure that the right hand knows what the left hand is doing, and that so much of it is often communication. We'd be more than happy to assist with. And then if we saw that there were some faults in legislation that we could actually address in a bill, we'd work in that area. I work very well with both sides of the aisle. You might not have known that from the last year's election, but there was an awful lot of rhetoric that went on. When I do deal with the Republicans in the legislature and they call me over to testify, they act shocked that I'm nice. But when you can set aside the partisan rancor and when you can talk person to person, that's really when you can get things done. I love public service, and I understood when I became a judge, and especially when I started the drug court, that a person holding an elected position is has a very unique opportunity to use that leadership position to empower others. And if the focus of the person holding the public office is about improving the lives of others and about making their community better, a whole lot can get done, as we saw in the election last year by turning things around in 22 months. So you would get the support from my office that was needed to work with that administrative agency and to stay on it. And if there was legislative change needed, we'd work in that area as well. In my own office now, I routinely meet with my directors and then also with my legal staff. And as we talk, especially with the legal staff, as we talk about policy, because we have the ability in the Secretary of State's office to actually effect and affect policy when it comes to elections because of our ability to draft directives that carry the force of law for boards of elections. As we talk through things and how it actually affects all the way down through the Board of Elections to an individual voter, we understand where there are areas where we're going to need legislative change. And fortunately, I've got a very talented legislative staff who's been able to get that done. For instance, on the 10-day furlough that the governor wanted all the employees of the state of Ohio to take for the budget cuts, I looked at my agency, I said, we have 200 people in our entire agency all over the state. We provide direct service to the public. If I lose 2,000 days of service, our service will diminish, and our job with business services is the gateway or the starting point for businesses to help create jobs. So we went to the legislature. We said we want to only have to do 5 days, and we'll give you the rest of the money back, but we just don't want to lose that kind of service to the public, and they let us do it. Thank you.
Secretary, if you are elected to the Senate, what will you do about getting our troops back from Iraq and Afghanistan, where they're being killed every day?
If I'm elected to the Senate in this question, already there's a plan in place to get the troops back from Iraq, and then there's been an increase in troops going to Afghanistan. What would need to be done would be to actually look at the will of the American people. I think most of us know that our soldiers are doing a fantastic job over there, and they're adding quite a bit to helping everyday citizens in those countries. But Afghanistan is an especially difficult terrain, culture, country. We don't know whether Osama bin Laden is actually in Afghanistan anymore or not. And the question remains, to what extent are the American people willing to keep investing resources in a war in Afghanistan when we know from looking at how other countries have had to deal with it, how difficult that is. My preference would be that we end the war in Afghanistan, not just cutting it off because we don't want to destabilize a country, but my preference would be long-term that we not continue with the war in Afghanistan. And as I said, we're already making the moves to leave Iraq. Thank you.
Thank you. What hope do we have that Congress review the deregulation of the pharmaceutical industry? Because those commercials that they put on TV I think those are the worst drug pushers we can ever look for. And then we citizens end up paying for it. The pharmaceuticals charge horribly high prices to Medicare people, and then they turn around and say, Medicare will go broke. Well, why?
Are we also talking about the donut hole?
Some of my friends have arrived in the hole, yes.
Yes. Not a good place to find yourself. No. And you're asking what can we?
Well, they're so deregulated simply because they have commercials on television, which I'm sure supports the corporation that own the media. And we end up paying for those commercials, and therefore the drugs cost more. And sometimes they advertise things that, oh, go ask your doctor whether you ever knew you had that certain illness or not, but you need the medication.
I think your question speaks for itself. It's very good. I think you summed up the viewpoints of a lot of people. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but you may be on a particular drug that, say, for a lot of indigestion or upper GI distress, and the next thing you know, your health insurance company says, well, we're not including that drug in our formulary anymore. Now you have to try this drug, and then you have to try that and see if it works, and if it doesn't work, then they might let you go back to the other one. And I think in the end, I'm not really sure that the age-held concept of the free market really applies that well in healthcare, because when we're talking about making sure, if people consider that healthcare as a right, and I consider it to be a right because it has to do with our overall well-being, and overall, if we provide healthcare to everyone, if we make sure that they have healthcare, then it's going to end up costing us a lot less in the end, and our economic well-being will be better. You can't separate healthcare from the economy. So that's where, with the free market, it seems to be like a survival of the fittest, but we can't have people falling out and falling through the cracks and being denied for pre-existing conditions. That's where the public option comes in. That's where making sure that people have access to health insurance and to health care comes into place. And pharmaceuticals are part of health care, and they're going to need to be dealt with accordingly. Thank you.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we've been listening to Jennifer Brunner, Ohio Secretary of State. Thank you, Ms. Brunner. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.